Hi, Zeke.
Hi,
How
Brennan.
are
How are
you?
you? Oh
I'm
my
good. Look at us. Look at us doing
God,
it.
wait,
I'm
it just.
good.
Are you?
Thank you. Thank you for
I don't want to just, I've been watching all your interviews that you've been doing over this time, and they get real.
They do.
I was watching, the God DB
Oh,
as
DB
DB
Suicide.
went in.
Yes.
So how are you really?
How am I really? I appreciate that. That is, I always be asking people, how's your heart? Because it's like, how are you? People say good, fine, but you're right. In this moment, I'm good. Today, I had like two Black folks conversations, and the Black folks conversations always are much more rejuvenating for me because it's just nice to be in a space with other Black people, especially in the middle of this pandemic where we're all so isolated. So it's just nice to know that in addition to the pandemic, I'm able to talk to people who are also experiencing the racial reckoning of it all. So yeah, so this is nice. So
Yeah, and I will answer you in
yes.
saying, especially when you just talked about the racial reckoning, because last night I had a moment. I don't know when this will air, but today, guys, it is October 29th. And last night, meaning October 28th, there were definitely protests nationwide. There were a bunch in New York City about the murder that happened in Philadelphia. And it is definitely hurting my soul. And I said to my mother, as a Black gay man, I carry centuries of pain on my shoulders, whether I want to or not.
Yes.
Because every day or every week of my life that I've turned on the TV or read something in a book, it is about one of my brothers or sisters getting murdered.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, let's not even say a lot of people, most people, the majority of people in this country don't have to go through that pain, whether you knew the person or not. I believe the gentleman's name was Walter.
Yeah,
I didn't,
Walter
I,
Wallace.
I didn't know Walter. Never met Walter before, but I know I feel Walter's mother's pain. I can feel his brother's pain. I can feel that pain for the community. It is the complete lack of empathy. We went through an entire, month, summer, and we're still in a giant civil unrest around the world.
Yeah.
Which is exciting for a freedom uprising because, in America, we love to claim that we are the land of the free and the home of the brave when, freedom ain't free. And when in freedom ain't free, is it really freedom? And being classified Black in this society, and I always like to emphasize classified Black, not to take away from the Black Lives Matter movement or BLM or I'm Black and I'm proud or Black entertainment television. But let's be honest with what Black really means. America is set up in a racial caste system. We're set up to fight against each other, to compete against each other. It's white, Black, other. And the other generally has historically been for the Asian American or the Native Indian American. So when we became this melting pot of America, with Latinx coming in and other people coming in, when you saw, immigrants come in after World War II, the Irish, the Italian, the Jewish people, they were classified and hated and vilified just as much as we were.
Mm-hmm.
Except then they realized, oh, we can be white. Let's not claim our nationality anymore. Let's not be Italian. Let's not be Irish. Let's not be Jewish. Let's be white. Because being white gives you status in America. Being Black gives you lesser status.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I am a classified Black man, but I am an American, and I claim myself as a Moorish American. I claim myself as native to this land.
Yeah.
So going back to the feeling of carrying death and pain and hardship on shoulders and in body, and realizing that many of my classified white brothers and sisters don't know that pain. They wake up every single day and they're like, oh, what's wrong? Well, Walter, George, Michael, Trayvon, you could just go on with the list, and I even said to myself, I don't know, Brandon, if you've ever had a run-in with the police, but I have. Been in handcuffs. Unfortunately, I've been in jail. And it's not a welcoming experience. And it's definitely a different experience when you are classified Black and you realize how close you are to being eliminated from society.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. Ditto.
Is that the end? Is that the end of the interview already?
I think we're done. Those are facts, and I think we're done. Well, Zeke, let me have you introduce yourself, starting with your pronouns. So tell us whatever you want us to know about you, and you can start with your pronouns.
So I am Joshua Zeke Thomas. My pronouns are him and his and he.
And he.
Did I do that right?
Yes, he, him.
I'm getting used to this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes my dyslexia likes to play tricks on me. But it's not to mock the new society that we're living in of claiming our genders.
Yes.
But what I also find interesting is the intersectionality of both race, law, and gender. Because they and them is not written into law as much as Black is not written into law. So I think that we're going to have an interesting time depending on who wins this election and who's in power. Because being classified Black, you're not born with the same rights as classified white people. So if you take yourself out of your gender and try to live your truth in law, what does that mean? Sure. Because it's just, it's not about, political belief, whatever. It's about, if they choose to enforce the laws that are written. The laws are not written for non-binary. The laws are not written for they.
No, it's not written for us, but that's why we're gonna be out here and we're gonna keep fighting.
We're gonna keep fighting for equality.
We will be.
And to pivot back, gender wasn't always a thing, just as much as color wasn't a thing.
No, I know it's stuff.
I can go back. I know my history, Brandon.
I know you do. I can tell you do. Well, I'm gonna ask you the little black folks question of the day, and then we'll do the big one. And so the little one, tends to be lighter. So here it is. If I was your barber, tell me what you getting.
I got a haircut today,
Okay, so tell me what do you say to your
but
barber? What you
but I'm gonna get me a skin fade.
okay? It's gonna be
Skin
mid.
fade,
Okay,
skin fade, and it's gonna
yes,
be tight with the razor. I wasn't able to get the razor because in COVID you got to wear these damn masks, which
sure.
everybody needs to wear their masks.
You
Don't let me
better
forget.
come
I got
on.
like 8 around here. Here go a mask.
Oh yeah,
Look,
there's
look,
7 around the place. Come on,
hold
vote.
on. Vote.
Yes.
This one of my personal favorites though.
Oh, come through. I can
Look,
see the mouth.
you can see my smile and
Absolutely.
everything.
I love
Exactly,
that. I love
exactly.
that.
Like little windshield wipers.
I love
Uh,
that. Also very, very deaf friendly. You can read your lips, which I love. I love
oh, okay. Look at you. Look at
yes.
you all for the ASL.
I
I'm with you.
am. Inclusion wherever we can.
You
Mine
better get it. You
wherever
better
we can.
include.
Come on. Mine is what do I get? I
I,
get a mid fade. I get a mid fade. Sometimes this is a
I
higher fade, but usually it's a mid fade. When I was younger, I would get a Caesar. For white people who don't know, that means even all the way around is what my Caesar was. How often do you get a haircut?
now or then.
Then, not now. Then, then.
At least every week and a half.
Yes,
At
I
least
am.
every week and a half. I'm a week and a halfer.
I
two
know.
weeks, 2 weeks is like
Oof, 2 weeks,
you know,
I can't do that
you
because
know. A week is like, damn, you really trying to be fresh for this boy.
yes, I'm always trying to be fresh for the boy. I would get my haircut once a week, honey. Once a week. I don't miss a week. When I was younger, I would get it once every 2 weeks. But I have my daddy's hairline, and so my hairline will grow down, 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 down. And the kids in boarding school, I went to boarding school in Georgia, and so I was only getting my haircut like once a month, and the kids would make so much fun of me because my hairline would come all the way down and I didn't recognize there's anything wrong. So once I got to college and I had control over getting to the barber, I would go every 2 weeks. And once I started making money, once a week, honey.
See,
Once
exactly.
a
That's how
week.
you know a brother who got money.
That's a
By
grown
the
person
hair.
paying
By
for
the
it.
hair.
Yes. Well, let me ask you the big black folks question, which I'm excited for because I don't think I haven't done much thinking around this, so we'll see how the fuck it goes. But I'm interested in when or what was the moment you intentionally started valuing the intersections of your queerness and blackness?
See, valuing is something different
It's very
than
different.
noticing
Yes,
because
that's an
I
intentional
know,
question.
oh, it's a very intentional question because I definitely, I don't know if you had this experience or anybody's had this experience. Well, I know people have had this experience of being like, damn, why am I black? I
Mm,
wish I was white. I wish things were easier for me. Why do
sure.
I have to be gay? I wish things were easier for me.
Yeah.
And then you grow to appreciate uh, your culture and your love and your skin tone and the fact that, you ain't gonna get no skin cancer and all this other shit. Um, you start to appreciate that.
Mm,
But when you learn to value it, I think the moment I learned to value it is when I first heard Stevie Wonder sing.
mm. Tell me about it.
I was a child. Um, had to been about 10 or 11. And I fell in love with the song called Do I Do.
Mm,
And the rhythm and the instrumentation and the complexities of the music and the way that the music can be composed and the art that can be and is produced by our people is unlike any that has ever been done in the history of the world. We are the innovators. We are the originators, and we will not be duplicated.
Yeah.
Everything in culture revolves around us, whether it is stolen or lifted out to the masses.
Mm.
And I truly value that. That is the thing that I learned to value at a young age, is that through entertainment and sports, we had a voice.
Mm. So is it, so when you were little, you heard "Do I Do," and you feel like that's the moment where the intersections of your queerness and your blackness, you like,
Oh, not queerness. I think that's really when I valued my blackness.
okay,
When I valued my queerness,
intersections of your
the
the
queerness.
intersection.
I don't know if I started valuing that till I was like 25, getting a lot of dick. I don't, that's when I think I started valuing the
Sure.
queerness.
But what about the intersection? So the intersection, specifically your black queerness, right? There's the valuing of your blackness, there's a valuing of your queerness, and then there's this place where they both live together. Do you remember the moment where you valued your black queerness, essentially?
I think that would be. I'm picturing the moment when my manager at the time told me that I wouldn't be able to DJ in straight clubs as a gay man,
Mm,
and I fired him.
mm,
And I think that is the moment that I valued my queerness and my blackness. But I knew
mm,
it was going to be a fight, but I knew that it was a fight that I had to choose to participate in.
mm. How did that moment come to be? I guess I'm interested in what was that switch? Like were you battling with that up until that point, and then they said something very
Oh,
specific, or
it was always like, everybody's trying to take somebody's job.
sure.
Everybody trying to take somebody's job. That's the way of the world. Um, but I am a damn good DJ
Hmm.
now, and I was pretty good back then. And I'm in the New York scene trying to, get in, and you know, the racial aspect was always there. So that's always something you have to deal with anyways. But when you then have to get questioned by your sexuality of the promoter and or owner saying, "Oh, he's not going to bring girls because he's gay. He's
Mm,
not, because they want to fill the club with beautiful women, whatever." And I'm
yeah.
like, "My boy's going to come or such and such or whatever." And you're like, eh. And then finally it got to the point that I said, my artistry means more to me than, faking it.
Mm,
And yeah, that was the learning point.
yeah. I mean, yeah, somebody trying to deny you because of your one facet of yourself or both facets of yourself is, and knowing to set that boundary as opposed to shrinking, definitely feels like a moment of value. I mean, I've been learning a lot recently that, like, saying no or firing somebody that's not,
Who
um
you fired? Who lost their job in the pandemic?
we don't
Somebody lost their job. You were about to
we
lose
don't
your job.
nobody
You
lost
were
their
about
job.
to lose your job.
I luckily have a delicious team, so no one has lost their job. But just like
I heard
in
that
my
butt sounded
life,
like a yeah.
well,
That
honey,
butt
in my
sounded
in
like
my
a
life, people have
yes.
have have been let go,
Dismissed, dismissed,
dismissed,
dismissed.
because they didn't see the value in what I brought to the table, and you can't represent me if you don't value me, and that
And
doesn't
that
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 includes
that's definitely happened with me. But I feel
yeah.
like I had to dismiss people because I had let them in. I had to dismiss people who were unhealthy for me. And
Mm,
you know, Um, as many people or some people may not know, I am a sexual assault survivor, do a lot of work in the mental health space, um, made some bad choices and did some bad drugs and was able to come out of it and be the person that I am today, strong and proud. Um, but in that time, I also met some people um, who were pulling me down. And at the
Mm,
time, I felt, hey, these are my friends, but my friends are doing drugs and aren't moving forward. So if my friends are doing drugs and aren't moving forward, then I am stagnant or
mm,
regressing.
mm-hmm,
So eliminating those friendships um, was harder than stopping doing the substances
hmm.
because then I felt so alone.
Sure.
And the loneliness is still evident because now you're in COVID
Mm,
and you're like, oh, look, now my great and beautiful self and my true self and everything's great. And the country shuts down and I can't make any new relationships.
yeah.
And Tinder won't let me on because they think I'm impersonating myself. So um, it is what it is.
Sure. Sure. You got to get on. What's Raya?
I'm
Bumble?
all right, but
All right.
I'm all right. You need a friend pass?
No, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
good.
I'm
No, but you know what I think you just said about the hardest part being losing the friends is because I imagine that, and I've done this, and I think so many of us do this, your value is external. So your value comes from those people. And so when you cut people off, you kind of lose. It feels, I think, it to me in those moments has felt extra lonely because at that point in my life, in my dark days, I hadn't valued myself yet. And so I was looking for my validation and my celebration and my value to come from other people telling me that, from
yes.
this inner circle or from the reps or from your boss or whatever. And when you let them go, and you haven't figured out how to love yourself, although the act of letting them go is an act of loving yourself, but when you haven't made that full integration yet, it feels devastating. It feels it is tragic, and it's heartbreaking to lose those people, whether or not you agree with what they're doing or how they're living their life. And if that's the same way you want to live your life, is a different conversation than I got my feeling of value from these people and now they're gone, and I haven't figured out how to value myself quite yet. This is a
Hmm.
step in that direction, but I mean that process for me, my I don't know if there was like a moment that I can pinpoint where I started to value my blackness and my queerness, the intersection of black queerness. um I
But
do.
you wanted me to pinpoint.
Well, yes, I
You
do,
see,
honey.
see what I'm saying?
That's why you are the
That's why
guest, my
you're
love. That's your job. My job, ask the question. Your job, answer them. Um, but I can tell you the moment that my journey to that started, and I've talked about this, I think, on the podcast before. But I had a breakup. I was dating this guy who was a white guy, and it was my first boyfriend. Like we weren't
I was gonna say, was it your first white guy?
it was my first boyfriend and my first white guy,
Ooh,
all in one.
all in one.
Honey,
Okay.
your whole body, your whole life just fucks it all up. There's a lot of, because I can also see inside of that relationship the ways in which I was trying to assimilate and trying to protect myself, right? I found protection specifically in this white dude, right? Like the ability to hail a cab, or this idea that I would
Oh, the
somehow.
ability to hail a cab is awesome. Be like,
That's
hey, can you
wonderful. Can you
go get
hail
that?
it? Great.
Go get that.
Absolutely. But also this, like, by association, I am now of value is
Of
what
privilege.
yes,
Yes.
that was the fucked up
You got
narrative,
that status.
honey. And then we broke up and the value went away, right? And so now I'm in therapy, and I'm, talking to my NYU therapist, my white therapist, about this breakup. And what falls out of my mouth in the last, 10 minutes of the session is that No matter how attractive I could be, I'll never be as attractive as a white man. And her face of horror. And that's when I was like, oh, something's off here. Like I just said
No,
something.
but I mean, I feel that a lot of gay Black men go through that because those are the images that we're shown our entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what we're shown.
Well, yeah.
White men all around, you know, the posters, even the superheroes, even dating back, you know, it's all mind control. But then once you grow up and you get into the status and you realize, you know, certain bars, you know, the black bars, the
Mm-hmm.
white bars, the this and whatever, and then you even try to approach some men and they say, "Oh, I'm not into black guys,"
Which
or
is the mind fuck of it all for me,
uh,
because you think that inside of the queer community, like the fantasy in my head was, oh, we are the LGBTQIA plus community, so like we believe in
mm-hmm.
free
Oh no,
love and
oh no, we are
equality and
segregated more than
equality,
people believe.
and the
And those
segregation is
white gays
real.
are quick to take their privilege.
Honey, they are. I mean, I just
You know, the
read.
BLM marches were more like a fashion show, as I say.
Ugh, do you mean the
Don't make
queer
me
one?
don't make me start
Which one are you
reading
talking
people.
about? You tell me. You tell me what you mean.
I mean, when some people were in were not genuine in their marching
Sure.
for Black Lives, for George Floyd.
Yes.
Protests became a fashion show. It became a social media post. It became
Yes.
a moment because
Yes.
as you can see the ones who even did it. I love going through friends social media feeds, like
You put
scrolling
that in
back and being
quotes.
like, oh, you didn't make one post,
Yes.
not one, not really. All those thousands of followers, all them whatever, and you know, you ask me, hey Zeke, can you come, you know, on my show and do this, that, and that? You didn't make one post. Okay, I know where you stand now.
Which
And
is yes.
I'm gonna file that away. And I've realized now it's no longer okay for me to say, oh, well, you know, they just didn't know.
No.
Joshua, they don't value your life.
Yeah. Isn't that devastating to have to really put two and two together and be like, oh yeah, that's like I can make all the excuses I want for you because we've laughed together and we've had brunches together, but at the end of the day, and it's not even, I talk about digital activism, and it's not like, oh, you got to post every day, but in the way that you're engaging, the way that you're living your life, it's very clear that I'm not a factor. My life is not a factor inside of it. That you would rather not speak about race, and you would rather not speak about Tony McDade or Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or Dominique Fells. You would rather just pretend like I'm just a Black friend over here doing what I do, and that's kind of it. And that,
I'm an ally. I'm an
yes,
ally.
yes. But I find it. I will say, to be very honest, I find it more devastating inside of the queer community, for me personally, because I saw that the dropping happen with straight and queer people. Like I saw that happen across the board. But there is part of me inside of my however I've built my understanding of the world that was like, okay, straight people I get. Not that it's an excuse, but like I expect there is this disconnect because I feel that disconnect as a queer person. I feel there are many straight people who haven't shown up for me just as a queer person. But then to be inside of the queer community and feel that your white queer friends have not shown up for you is a different betrayal for me. Um,
But it's
because
become one that's expected for me.
mm,
It's because when they walk into a room, they're not queer, they're white.
Yes, 1,000%.
And they will never know how it is to walk into a room and be Black. So the relation is not there. But even when you try to break it down and they're not wanting to hear the conversation, you see, there are many organizations that we could point to who champion queer causes, but don't want to talk about the Black trans women, don't want to talk about Black males, don't want to talk about Black women.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're at the bottom, and you can raise all the funds you want off of Billy Porter's voice or Laverne Cox making an appearance or a Janet Mock series. You can raise all those funds, but do they ever show back or go back to the little queer Black boy or girl or however they identify? Does it ever get back to them, the person in poverty?
Mm.
Or is it just going on to now wallpaper some pretty white boys campaign talking about freedom?
Mm.
I wish y'all could see me on the podcast right now. I just raised my hands and did some sparkling things. You know, it's very, very, I want y'all to picture very like Blake Jenner, like freedom.
Yeah. It, this, I think I've talked about this. I, years ago when Amber, what's Amber's last name? Amber's the designer. I don't know if that's what you call it, but she is the one who added the black and brown stripes to the rainbow flag. I believe that's correct. Amber Hikes, I think is her name. I believe I'm saying that.
But it first showed up in Philly.
Yes, in Philly. Yes, years ago. So when that happened, I got invited to a dinner. A very who's who of like powerful queer people in among different queer organizations, like CEOs and presidents of and I was the only Amber Hicks, thank you, Amber Hicks, and I was the only Black person there, and I was there because they wanted to ask why there was the need to add the black and brown stripe, or what the importance of that was, or what the tension about it is for, you know, I think the Pride had just happened.
Ooh, you needed backup,
honey.
You needed backup.
One, yes, point one, absolutely needed backup. You know, to like one to like be at a dinner with like 7 or 8 like very powerful queer people, and then be the only person of color, be the only Black queer person there, and then be asked this question. I wasn't prepared. I was like, what? And trying to explain it, and like, this is the burden of Black people often, is that we have to represent the community all the time, and you want to do really well.
You want to do well.
You want to do well, but like sometimes you're not always prepared or whatever it is. So I'm trying to have this conversation and explain the importance of it. And that conversation in the dinner happened, and like nothing happened. And then this year, years later, I saw that one of the organizations had the black and brown added, and it was that, you know, we're promoting Black queer people, and I was like, that is it just felt like hopping on a trend. It was, and that was painful, because there is this like, I think Griffin Matthews is his name, talked about it inside of the Broadway community.
Love
like,
Griffin.
I'm supposed to talk to him soon, and I'm very excited about that, because his video about just like how Black actors or performers are like toted around the galas to be like, look, inclusion, and then there's no investment, as you said. Like that's,
I'm always on the red carpet. Always on the red carpet. hey.
To be the mascot, to be the prop, but you feel like when you pull the layers back, there's not a real investment. And to my point of this whole thing is, it for me still just feels like such a sting when it comes from the queer community, because there is a history that we don't acknowledge of white queer people distancing themselves from Black queer people, specifically Black and brown trans women who have given their lives and
We
continue
gave
to give
them
lives.
rights. Let's be honest about that.
That
They would not have the rights that they have without us, without Black women, without Black trans women, and without Black men in the streets. But yet, we still don't have ours. And that is why that we're angry and the disconnect. It's like, okay, we fought for, yes, equality for all this, because guess what? We thought that you would stand up for us.
yeah.
We shouldn't be having to ask you to come join the fight of police brutality. We shouldn't be having to ask you to join the fight for social equality. We shouldn't be having to ask you to please let's see what these trickle down economics really trickle down to me. When does that happen?
Yes, white queerness becomes a forgive it, a get out of jail free card from having to deal with oppression. Because what I hear the conversation always being
Well,
about,
I'm gay, I get you, girl. I get it.
I'm
I
gay, I
get
get it,
it.
I'm
I
oppressed too.
get it.
Meanwhile, those of us of color, Black, Latinx, Native American, Asian, you go on Grindr or Tinder, these apps, and you're bombarded with the most. Listen, I'm on Instagram. Let me tell you, I get Trump people hitting me all the time on Instagram. But I would think on the apps in the middle of New York City or West Hollywood.
And it hurts on the apps.
Oh my goodness, you get the most racist.
You get the most racial stuff.
Just like the most racist, exotifying, objectifying kind of conversations. And we can talk about, sex talk and what that is, but this is not that. This is like blatant.
This is blatant racism. And bigotry.
And a lot of internalized homophobia on there. Hello, Mask for Mask community. But it's like that stuff where you're like, oh, again, I just can't express enough how it feels like it is a betrayal, but then also just the most stubborn white people that I've come up against have usually been white queer people who don't want to take accountability for it, who want to really exempt themselves from this conversation, and don't think that they participate in it. And it's like, no, by not participating in it, you are participating very clearly, right? That lack of posting or being involved or being engaged or showing up to that first protest because it was cool on social media, but then there's mum's the word for the rest of it. That is a participation, honey. You were saying something very clear, which to your point is that my life is not of value to you. And to my original question, it's like, that's when that close circle had to go. That, like, sometimes there were some white people in that close circle that had to go, because it was like, I have to value myself, and I pick me. I pick my Black queerness. I'm not picking sides on this.
It's very hard, and any young people listening, valuing yourself is the hardest thing you will have to do in life. But once you realize to put yourself first, and that's not being selfish.
Nope.
That's not being selfish. Selfish is something completely different. But being for you, being for yourself.
Team you.
Exactly. What makes you better? What makes you feel good? If you can figure that out, your life will be much easier than mine was.
Yeah. And but like what's challenging about it, because like let's not you know, it's like, it's really easy for me and for you to say value yourself, right? And knowing that we've, but like when I think about the journey that it probably took for you to value yourself and the journey for me to get there, you couldn't pay me to do that journey again, honey. Like that,
No,
like,
no, no, absolutely,
you
absolutely
couldn't
not.
pay me to do that journey again, honey. Like
That's
that,
why I'm
that
saying,
is,
please get it now.
please get it if you can. But you know what sucks is that the way our society is set up is that everything that you're getting, all the messaging you're getting, is doing the complete opposite. Like valuing yourself becomes the rebellion. Like in this culture of self-care, in this culture of I love myself and all that, it's like, yeah. And yet everything that you're interacting with is telling you how not good you are, how not pretty you are, how not, you know, buff enough you are, how too dark your skin is, or it's too light, or whatever it is. And so then valuing yourself becomes such an epic uphill battle, just because there's nothing ingrained in the system of the world that you live in that holds you up, and you have to do it by yourself in many ways. Obviously, hopefully you meet the right people along the way, but it really starts with you. And it's like, I don't know. Again, my moment was that white therapist looking at me crazy. And that was like, but like, other than that, like if that moment hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have realized how much I wasn't valuing myself. And I don't know how I got to a place where I was like, okay, I'm on this journey bit by bit. I'm going to learn how to love myself. I don't know. Do you remember any pieces of your journey?
I think I'm still going through my journey,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
just yesterday I had to, 2 days ago I had to make the decision, this person isn't for me,
Mm,
and that's okay. That's
yeah.
okay. They're not healthy for me.
Yeah.
Why am I fighting to save this friendship?
Yeah.
Let it go.
That is hard.
And
I'm sorry you had to do that.
I see, I'm not.
Well, I'm grateful that you did it, but I'm sorry that,
I'm sorry for yes, but at
yes.
the same time, that's what I don't want to convey. I don't want to feel sorry for letting something bad go.
Amen.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was bad. It had to go. You
Yes.
can mourn something,
Yes.
but you shouldn't feel sorry for
Yes. I think for me, I recognize the sorry for me comes from I recognize I was talking to another friend of mine who's I get a lot of questions about outgrowing friendships and outgrowing relationships. And so I recognize that there is a pain when you realize that a relationship isn't working anymore, a relationship that you value. I mean, I know this firsthand. I speak, I've been very open about my relationship with my mother and the breakdown of that relationship. And my mother is still just one of the most important people to me, but we just can't be in each other's lives in the same way that we were. And so I'm not sorry for choosing myself and loving myself enough to know that a boundary had to be made there. But it doesn't mean that letting that relationship go or shifting that relationship and how it shows up isn't painful. And so that's where I'm sorry for. It's like knowing that that friend might have made you laugh a lot. That friend might have been there in some really hard times for you. And yet still you can recognize it's ultimately not good for me. And so not sorry that you became wiser and moved through, but definitely sorry if there's any mourning, if there's any pain inside of it.
it.
It's a it's such a I don't know about you, but in the last definitely in the last 6 months, I have had to get comfortable, and comfortable might not be the right word, but had to acknowledge that this life is full of gray. This life is full of a lot of gray areas where two opposing things get to coexist. Something that is
That's
painful.
beautifully said.
Thank you. Something that is painful also gets to be the best thing for you. And that there's such a it makes the heart and the mind go, what the
There are a
fuck?
lot of gray areas that are trying to exist.
Yes, that get to coexist. They do.
Ooh.
They do. They're those opposing views. They get to coexist in this.
If we were at a coffee house, ooh, I'd be
Hey,
just,
would you be snapping? Would you be
yeah,
snapping for me?
snapping.
Look, even your voice changed. You got that
Little
butter,
jazz cymbals going, you know. Shh.
the buttery voice. Yes, yes. But I think in acknowledging that, in some ways, not life hasn't gotten easier, but it's been clearer in moments to navigate, because I think the pain, the suffering, maybe this is it, and I'm using, and I don't know, and I'm sure there are a lot of things written about pain and suffering. I think the suffering comes from trying to make something, for lack of a better term, black and white, right? And I'm not talking about race, but like trying to get a really, it's this or it's that. And when it doesn't fit into this or that, that to me is when I start to suffer. But if I can allow this and that to exist somewhere in the middle, doesn't mean that it's the best thing ever, but it's not also the worst thing ever, but it just gets to exist, and there's a little more ease. Does that make sense?
Yes,
A little more
yes,
ease.
yes, yes.
Give me that bass. Give me that bass.
Hello, this is Zeke Thomas.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. I guess I want to know, we've been talking about a bit about our journeys to loving ourselves, and to getting to that space of valuing, especially the Black queerness, and knowing that moment of firing your manager was a moment of that value. Have you felt it recently of valuing? I know that you've said, and I think, which I appreciate you being transparent like that, still getting a hold of that love and that valuing of oneself. But have you had a moment recently where you're like, oh yes, I'm, I love being Black and queer? Like, was there a moment where you're like, yes, bitch, like this is Black and queer, and I am this and it, and I love it.
Whenever I get behind the DJ, whenever I'm DJing, like
Oh,
whenever I'm DJing, it's always about that. That's always the feeling of love. And I've gotten
yes.
the opportunity to DJ for a lot of events this summer virtually.
Yeah,
Uh, wow, I said summer. We're already about to be
I know.
November,
It's about
and
to be
I
winter.
I, I and I did some. So I got one tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
But whenever I get to do that, I got to DJ, and I was DJing and she was hosting Jessica Chastain.
Come on.
And
Come
when
on.
Jessica Chastain gave me a shout out and was like, "Ooh, you killing it!" I was like,
Yes. Yes.
"Yeah!"
I
So
love that.
it's definitely whenever the music comes out and whenever I'm just around my house, getting to be myself. Whenever I'm around my true friends, getting to be
Hmm.
myself. I'm a person who likes to dance around, make jokes, make weird noises,
Sure.
just random stuff. And you can just be yourself. And that comes from being queer and Black. That's the intersectionality because it's the brilliance of both sides.
Yes.
Because gay people are brilliant. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to take away from my, white brothers and sisters. They're brilliant, but we
Yeah.
got a different kind of soul.
Hmm.
As Beyonce would say, you ain't gonna take my power now. You ain't gonna take my power.
Yeah. You know what I love about that? Because I think that, Black queer people, obviously, undisputed, really set Black people and Black queer people set the trends of
Yes,
our
we do. Bye,
we
Felicia.
we set the come on, we set the trends. All of your memes and your gifs and your
Yes,
gifs, all your
girl.
we said it all.
Jade.
Yes, and so
I
it
can
makes
keep
sense.
going.
Honey, I listen. We got a book,
You
but you know
just
what I
said
think,
honey. There's another one. We up to 7. Let's keep
honey,
going.
honey, bitch, bitch, what? Yes, all of it. But it's our artistry, right? I think that's where the freedom of being Black and queer lives is in our own personal artistry. So it moves me to hear you say that it's when you're DJing, when you're doing your art, because art is so personal. Whatever your art is, whether it's you're an actor or a DJ, or you make pies, or you do pottery, or you teach kindergarten. Like your artistry is where you get to come alive, and so that rings true to me too. When I get to act in something that I've written, that is that to me is where my black queer, because I can't write what I don't know, so I got to
Mhm.
write from my black queer heart. um and so that to me is where I feel, where I feel like I can celebrate and be in my most authentic self, is in my art. And so I really hear you on that music DJ piece.
Amen.
And I would say to any, this is gonna be my last question for you, but I'm gonna answer it first, because I know we had a little scuffle earlier about the pivotal not being able to pin it down. So I will answer my question, and then I will ask you the question, which is like, what would you say to a young black queer person, or a young POC queer person? And I think uh, I would say, find yourself and find out what being yourself means. And it's going to be some trial and error, and there's going to be some shifting of the people around you for sure. But find out where you can be your most authentic self. And you'll know you're there, because it'll be a happiness and a joy that is unmatched. It'll be something that you won't feel anywhere else, or as anywhere else. And if you can find that, the sooner you can find that, and there's no rush, you'll go on your journey, but the sooner you can find that, you'll be on the right track for your life, because then you'll start to realize that anything that doesn't make me feel like that has got to go. Anything that doesn't make me feel valuable like that can't be in my life, because I want to feel that sacred joy as often as possible. So,
What I would say to a young POC queer person um, would be, it's going to be hard.
mm,
And it's going to be hard in ways that you don't think that it's going to be hard. It's not going to be as hard as you think for your parents to accept you in this day and age.
mm,
It's not going to be as hard for your friends to accept you in this day and age. What's going to be hard is, can you say no to your friends and family because they don't know you?
mm, mm. Hey, hey, my God. Yeah, yes, that's hard, but also, God, I just all I can I wish I knew what I know now. I don't know if you're having this, but like, I'm 33.
I'm 32.
Yes, honey. And every time I look in the mirror, I can see my 6-year-old self. It's been happening for like the last month and a half. Like, I can see myself at 6 or 7, struggling, not knowing what I was struggling with, but struggling to be myself. And now at 33, I really do feel like, and myself will change and shift and evolve, but at 33, I do really feel I'm my authentic self, and it is my superpower. Um, and for every young queer person of color, um, I am so excited for you to discover your superpower, to discover that you are the superpower. That moment, there's truly nothing like it. You become unstoppable. And you are, as Zeke said, it will be hard, but you are from
You're powerful.
you are from a resilient, your lineage, your people are resilient and powerful, just like you. And you'll figure that out. Zeke,
All
give
righty.
me that, give me that buttery voice one more time. Give me that buttery
Hey,
voice.
how you doing?
Yes.
Brandon.
Oh my God, that's gonna be my ringtone. Watch.
Yeah.
Zeke, thank you so much.
Brandon's phone is ringing.
Yeah, come on. Do we have that recorded, Judith? Zeke, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
No, thank you. And I hope that we can get together
Yes,
soon,
post-COVID.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yes, I would love that.
Mask for mask.
Yes. That's that mask for mask I can fuck with. That mask for mask, I fucks with.